Good morning, fourth grade. Today we're going to continue reading in our novel, James and the Giant Peach. Before we get started, we have a quick write. It says, describe a time when something unexpected happened to you. What happened and how did you respond? Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to read. Our focus question for today is, in what ways do each of the different characters react to a peculiar event? What do their reactions tell us about each character? All right, and so we're going to compare Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker's reaction to the giant peach that's growing in their yard with James's reaction. Our vocabulary words are miraculous, and that's when something like almost impossible happens and people say that is a miracle. It's miraculous. All right. The peach larger than a human, that would be miraculous. The next word is exploit, and that's when you make use of a resource to benefit you. So this frog is exploiting the leaf because he's using it as an umbrella. He is making use of the leaf. He's exploiting it. All right, and then the last word is greedy, and that's when you, excuse me, you have an intense desire for something. You want wealth and power. You are greedy. All right, and so go ahead and turn the page. And we are going to be filling out the first column of our character perspective chart. And right now, we are going to be focusing on James, okay? And how James responds to the peach. In parallel teaching, you're going to be focusing on the aunts, okay? We're on page 17. And so yesterday, what happened was James spilled the magic crocodile tongues at the root of the peach tree. They buried themselves down, and then all of a sudden, the peach tree that had never grown peaches started growing. And it kept growing and growing and growing, okay? And at the end on page 16, it says, "Great heavens alive," Aunt Spiker yelled. "I can actually see the thing bulging and swelling before my very eyes." Okay, so now we're on page 17. The two women and the small boy stood absolutely still on the grass underneath the tree, gazing up at this extraordinary fruit. James's little face was glowing with excitement. His eyes were as big as two big stars. He could see the peach swelling larger and larger, as clearly as if it were a balloon being blown up. In half a minute, it was the size of a melon. In another half a minute, it was twice as big again. "Just look at it growing," Aunt Spiker cried. "Will it ever stop?" Aunt Sponge shouted, waving her fat arms and starting to dance around in circles. We'll stop right there. So we have information about James, and we also have information about the setting. All right? If you underline this sentence on page 17, James's little face was glowing with excitement. His eyes were as big and bright as two stars. We know that James is excited about the growing peach. And so in character 1, you would write, James was excited about the growing peach. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the setting. And for the setting, we know that they are in the garden. They're watching, they're under the grass beneath the tree. They're in the garden of their house. And so for the setting, you would write, James is with his aunts in their garden. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. All right, and so we're going to listen for James's problem. Let's keep reading. I'm at "and now." And now it was so big it looked like an enormous butter-colored pumpkin dangling from the top of the tree. "Get away from that tree trunk, you stupid boy," Aunt Spiker yelled. "The slightest shake, and I'm sure it will fall off. It must weigh 20 or 30 pounds at least. The branch that the peach was growing upon was beginning to bend over further and further because of the weight. "Stand back!" Aunt Sponge yelled. "It's coming down! The branch is going to break!" But the branch didn't break. It simply bent over more and more as the peach got heavier and heavier. And still it went on growing. For another minute this mammoth fruit was as large and round and fat as Aunt Sponge herself, and probably just as heavy. "Keep going." "It has to stop now," Aunt Spiker yelled. "It can't go on forever." But it didn't stop. Soon it was the size of a small car, and reached halfway to the ground. Both aunts were now hopping around and around the tree, clapping their hands and shouting all sorts of silly things in their excitement. "Hallelujah!" Aunt Spiker shouted. "What a peach! What a peach!" "Terrifico!" Aunt Sponge cried out. "Magnifico! Splendifico! And what a meal!" "It's still growing! I know! I know!" As for James, he was spellbound by the whole thing, and he could only stand and stare and murmur quietly to himself, "Oh, isn't it beautiful? It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "Shut up, you little twerp!" Aunt Spiker snapped, happening to overhear him. "It's none of your business." "That's right," Aunt Sponge declared. "It's got nothing to do with you whatsoever. Keep out of it." "Look!" Aunt Spiker shouted. "It's growing faster than ever now. It's speeding up." "I see it, Spiker. I do. I do." Bigger and bigger grew the peach, bigger and bigger and bigger. Then at last, when it had become nearly as tall as the tree it was growing on, and tall and wide, in fact, as tall and wide, in fact, as a small house, the bottom part of it gently touched the ground, and there it rested. "It can't fall off now," Aunt Sponge shouted. It's stopped growing," Aunt Spiker cried. "No, it hasn't." "Yes, it has." "It's slowing down, Spiker. It's slowing down. But it hasn't stopped yet. You watch it." There was a pause. "It has now." "I believe you're right. Do you think it's safe to touch it?" "I don't know. We'd better be careful." Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker began walking slowly around the peach, inspecting it very cautiously on all sides. They were like a couple of hunters who had just shot an elephant and were not quite sure if it was dead or alive, and a massive round fruit towering over them so high that they looked like midgets from another world beside it. The skin of the peach was very beautiful, a rich buttery yellow with patches of brilliant pink and red. Aunt Sponge advanced cautiously and touched it with the tip of one finger. "It's ripe!" she cried. "It's just perfect! Now see here, Spiker, why don't we go and get us a shovel right away and dig out a great hunk of it for you and me to eat?" "No," Aunt Spiker said, "not yet." "Why ever not?" "Because I said so." "But I can't wait to eat some!" Aunt Sponge cried out. She was just watering at the mouth now, and a thick trickle of spit was running down one side of her chin. "My dear Sponge," Aunt Spiker said slowly, winking at her sister, and smiling a sly, thin-lipped smile, "there's a pile of money to be made of this if we can only handle it right. You wait and see." We're going to keep reading on Chapter 8. We're still looking for James's problem. The news of the peach, almost as big as a house, had suddenly appeared in someone's garden, spread like wildfire across the countryside, and the next day a stream of people came scrambling up the steep hill to gaze upon the marvel. Quickly Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker called in carpenters and had them build a strong fence around the peach to save it from the crowd. And at the same time these two crafty women stationed themselves at the front gate with a bunch of tickets and started charging everyone coming in. Roll up, Aunt Spiker yelled. "Only 1 shilling to see a giant peach." "Half price for children under 6 weeks old," Aunt Sponge shouted. "One at a time, please. Don't push, don't push. You're all going to get in. Hey, you, come back here. You haven't paid." By lunchtime the whole place was a seething mass of men, women, and children, all pushing and shoving to get a glimpse of the marvelous fruit. Helicopters were landing like wasps all over the hill, and out of them poured swarms of newspaper reporters, cameramen, and men from the television companies. "It'll cost you double to bring in a camera," Aunt Spiker shouted. All right, they answered. "We don't care." And the money came rolling into the pockets of the two greedy aunts. But while all this excitement was going on outside, poor James was forced to stay locked in his bedroom, peeping through the bars of his window at the crowds below. "The disgusting little brute will only get in everyone's way if we let him wander about," Aunt Spiker had said early that morning. "Oh, please," he had begged. "I haven't met any other children for years and years, and there are going to be lots of them down there for me to play with, and perhaps I could help you with tickets." "Cut it out," Aunt Sponge had snapped. "Your Aunt Spiker and I are about to become millionaires, and the last thing we want is the likes of you messing up and getting in the way." We'll stop right there because we have information about James's problem. In the problem box, you would write, "The aunts locked James in his room while they charged people money to come look at the peach." Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the goal. All right, and we know from page 22 that James's goal is to be able to play with the other children. And so in the goal box, you would write, "James wants to play with the other children who are interested in seeing the peach." Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the attempt. Okay, and so because he wants to play with the other children, he begs and he begs his aunts to let him help and to let him out of his room. So in the attempt box, you would write, "James begs his aunts to let him out of his room, and he offers to help them sell tickets." Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the outcome. All right, so we're going to keep reading the rest of the chapter to figure out what happens to James. I'm at later. Later, when the evening of the first day came and the people had all gone home, the aunts unlocked James's door and ordered him to go outside and pick up all the banana skins and orange peel and bits of paper that the crowd had left behind. "Could I please have something to eat first?" he asked. I haven't had a thing all day." "No!" they shouted, kicking him out the door. "We're too busy to make food. We're counting our money." "But it's dark!" cried James. "Get out!" they yelled, "and stay out until you've cleaned up all the mess." The door slammed. The key turned in the lock. All right, and so for the outcome, we know, write this down, James is locked in his room all day. And then the aunts force him to clean up the yard at dark. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the reaction. All right, and we know that James, he's really sad and he's hungry. And so he reacts by asking if he can have something to eat. And his aunts say no. And for the reaction, you would write, "James is really sad and asks for something to eat first," which he does not get. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the theme. All right, and for the theme, we need to think about James is a pretty good person. Like he obeys his aunts when they tell him what to do, but they still treat him poorly. And so the theme is kind of like, even if you do the right thing, people aren't always going to treat you the right way. And so for the theme, you would write, "Even though James is a good person and obedient to his aunts, he is treated poorly." Press pause to write down the theme and play when you're ready for the paragraph. And for the paragraph, you would write, "How does James respond to the giant peach? What does his response reveal about his character?" And so you need to think about his goal and his attempt, and then actually how that turns out for him. Okay?